Hey, and welcome back to another Magicavoxel video. In this one, I will show you how to create a sci-fi scene you see here from scratch. Let's get started. Okay, so the first thing you want to do before you start any project in Magicavoxel is to get an idea on what your scene will have, or more importantly, what your scene will be about. So it's generally a good idea to go on the web, and because in our case we're doing sci-fi themed stuff, we can just type in sci-fi, and it's going to be an isometric. I'm going to have the camera set to isometric mode, or it's blend of orthogonal and isometric. So I'm just going to type in isometric, and then it's going to be like a small room, so I'll just type in room. And we can look at the images here, and again, don't spend too much time analyzing the art pieces that you choose, because you'll see stuff like this and then you could possibly feel discouraged in making artwork. You just want to get an idea on the different aspects that they use. So for instance, they have some cool bloom effects coming in from the window here. They got some cool props you could possibly use. You get some ideas on what the monitors should be if you want to put monitors. And you can look at the lighting, the color palette, and see which color palette appeals you the most, and get an idea if you want it to be like a surveillance center scene, or like a bedroom, or like this is also a cool looking spacey bedroom sci-fi thing. So yeah, just get a general idea on what you kind of want to do. Okay, we're in Magicavoxel now, and let's go ahead and create a new actually delete the cube. We can make it 256 voxels. For sole purposes, for simplicity, I'm just going to keep it at 256. Go to palette 3 to create a new palette. And then just in the notes tab, I'm going to create the walls, and so to keep things organized, I'm just going to have my color palettes associated with certain things. Once you have basic wall layout, we can set the camera real fast here. So go to the orthogonal view and just pick position here, and then just save the camera position. Press 7, and then let's say you move over here to make it with the window. You press A on the keyboard and bring it back here. And if you press 5, it kind of like zooms in on the object and focuses on it. So that's pretty handy to know. Let's keep going with this. For the fuel cells, they are going to be supported with like, I don't know how to explain it, shields. Actually, let's go ahead and start making the fuel cells now, just so we have an idea how big the fuel cells should be. So I'm just going to create an object, put this in a different layer. It's going to be a circular fuel cell. So let's go over here. And create something like this. Restrict the object, and then turn on X and Y mirror mode to give it some texture. Something like that will do. And then just drag this up, flip it around. Create a top that looks cool. Combine the two objects, and for this part, let's give this a little bit of color, and then this to make it like blue. Something like that. It's pretty high off the ground, so I'm just going to put it down a little bit. Actually, keep it like that, it looks fine. And go over here, and using FreeCam, we can go inside and give this a little bit of light blue in the center. This is just so that you'll see here in a second. Go out and go in here, go to the emission, turn that on, and then give this glass. We can create a fuel cell. That looks pretty cool, and I'm happy with that. Give the outer shell a minute. Now let's go ahead and create like the outer guard for it. So what I mean is like just something that prevents it from moving around in the event of like an earthquake or something, so it doesn't like fall over and explode. So something like that will do. And we just duplicate this many times. Okay, once you're done duplicating it, I just moved it over here to my scene here. And now we can do the same with these fuel cells. We can, because the fuel cells and these shield things would be on two different things, and there's a lot of them, we can put the fuel cell on a different layer. And let's just go ahead and duplicate this, and I'll see you guys once I'm done with that. Okay, now we're done with that. If we go into model, you can see there's a lot of different stuff here. So let's turn off the layers that we don't need. And for instance, we can put this all into one. We can basically put this into a group. So hit Control A to select all, and then hit Control R. And now, what happens is it's put into a group. And if you go into here, you can even label this like fuel cell, and you minimize this, and now you have less voxels, and you're like, oh, where is this? And then now you know. So we can do the same with these little shield guys here. Control R, put it there. Maybe call it guards. And then this right here is the wall. This voxel blocks here. This is call it wall. And now we have a lot. What used to be like 50 or so different objects in this scene now is compressed and put into basically 3 groups. That's convenient to know. I'm going to go ahead and change the texture on these right here. Okay, turn these back on. You can see it's clipping through the wall. I don't want that, so I can actually take these, go to order, and put last. And if I put last, whoops, I put last, and then put the 4 in front first. You can see that the 4 overlaps this, which is great. That's what I want. Let's make the shields metal texture and make it lighter. Purposely left the center here empty for maybe a walkway or like a huge like electronic colored pipe. And actually, I don't really like these textures right here, so I'm going to change this ever so slightly. Something like that will do. And this might be too bright, so I'm going to reduce the brightness on it and the color. And I need to get the real full effect, turn on bloom. I mess maybe with the transparency of the glass. Okay. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Let's go ahead and move on to adding. I'm going to add like a platform here, a raised platform that overlooks the fuel cell area. Okay, with the platform, we can create a new object, put it on the layer that's the same as the walls, and basically create little holes in the oh, how do you explain it? In the ground. Oh, you'll see what I mean. It'll be like a grid basically. So we want to turn this one on, I believe. And just start doing something like this. And then flip it around like that. And now we have a basic platform looking thingy. And if we drag it out, now it's starting to look kind of cool. So we can keep just dragging this out like so. And this part right here will be given a floor, just so there's like support basically for like a roof. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna do something else. I'm going to create a new object, bring this over, and we're actually going to create arches. Okay, now we can add a glass platform balcony thing. Something like that will do. Move this over. Put it down like so. Let's go ahead and just connect the dots. There we go, that should be good. Let's go ahead and get some of the lighting done. I'm gonna have an HDR set up, so just gonna mess with, I'm gonna turn this on and maybe keep this one. And I actually like this lighting right now, it looks kind of cool, so keep that. Go over here and mess with the exposure if I need to. Vignette settings and bloom, which there isn't really much bloom for right now, but this is fine. These platforms aren't really supported by anything, so I'm going to add a cross beams that go across like this to create a new object. And a trick in this Magicavoxel version is I can create a simple rectangle right here, like so. Maybe create and constrict it, and maybe create a little bit of texture. Or not texture, some like form. And let's make it really big. Bring it up close to the middle, and bring it down like so to where the beam should be. And if you go over here to these arrows, click transform and then put it like this. Now you can move it like at a 45-degree angle. You find one that looks good. I like that, so keep it. And you can constrict it. Bring it back up like so. Wait, actually, because it's slipping through, you can crop the object so that it's just like right there. Bring this one back as well. Let's go ahead and move on to creating like a cool looking, basically tanks right here. It'll be like cylindrical tanks, and they'll be colored, and they'll all have piping that leads to a central pipe which goes down here. And go over here. Whoops. Go ahead and wait for this stuff to clear. Go to shape, cylinder. Put it like this. And basically, we just want a cylinder small enough that it can fit in here. Something like that will do. I want it to be like a half circle. Color, and this is actually going to be completely hollow, so we want to basically create an opening like that, put our emission light in here like so, out, and then close the circle back up, which you can just do by getting this piece right here and just moving it like that. Now if we go over here and make this glass and make this, give this an emission, there is now something like that, which is pretty cool. And this pipe is not going to be, let's see, it's going to be not continuous. They're going to be like little segments where it's going to be like a metal casing around it to make it not look like one thing. So we're going to increase the size, find where the center is, roughly and create something like this and bring it to the other side. Like so. Now we can duplicate it. Okay, now that that's done, we can go ahead and add the cylindrical tubes here. That looks pretty cool. Let's go ahead and go into each one of these, make these hollow. And then go into here and create a color for the fusion, I guess. And actually I want to do two colors. One which is going to be a circle like in the center here. So fill that. Try to find where the center is. That. Now I can bring this up. Something like that. And over here, create a new object. Make it quite small. Create an ellipse and move this ellipse inside here. Try to get it fairly centered inside this cylinder thing. Okay, that should be good. To make time, to basically expedite the process, I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate this one to these four right here. Now we have something like this. We can give this a glass texture. And these two color. This will be really bright because it's the core. And this right here will just align the tops and bottoms. And we can change the IOR to our liking. As well as the transparency. And then change this outer shell to like a metal. One thing I am going to adjust here is it looks kind of bare. Like there's a lot of glass and not much of the like casing. Combine that and now move it in. actually, one more thing is maybe bring this up like that, and now move it in. Now it looks a lot more robust. That's pretty cool. There we go. That looks pretty cool. Okay, so for the next part, we're going to go ahead and add some lighting down here. Go ahead and go to better view to see the arches down here. And we are going to create a new object and put the lights and lighting down here, just so it's be a little more convenient. And just create light strips like this. Now we can go ahead and just let this render and see what it looks like. It's a bit too orange, so I'm just going to adjust it and make it darker as well. I think actually that is a good color to have. Now let's go ahead and put color up here. Going down here, we can just select one of the arches and duplicate it, delete the contents, drag it down, and just start drawing some light fixtures. Like so. We'll skip this one and go to the next one. Now we'll just let this render and see what it looks like. Okay, with that, we should make this ground metal, because most floors are metal, or at least in labs, I think. Either metal or concrete. We'll let this render. Now you should always tweak the colors accordingly to your liking. I mean, it's just whatever you think looks best. Something like that we'll have to do. These pillars are slightly interfering with the floor here, so I'm just going to move down one. I'll have to move these as well. Let's go ahead and start grouping some of these stuff. So up here we can just select the rail and the floor, put it into a group. This down here, put it into another group, and put these on a separate layer. Let's like that. These can also go on a separate layer, like so. Same with the piping. We can actually group it, put it on a separate layer. And these arches and light fixtures on the pillars, we can also put this on its own there. Okay, so we have something like this, it's a little bit more nicer and neater. Let's now go ahead and put in some entrances or entryways right here. So after playing with some light settings and adjusting some of the materials on the canisters and the walls, I have something like this. I also turned these settings on right here. When you turn these on, it's possible that the lights could be extremely bright. You can just go ahead and fix that just by tinkering with the emissions and the power settings here. But now let's go ahead and start building some of the doors. And because we'll have two doors, we can just build one door and then duplicate it and then put it for the bottom door. So I'm just going to go in orthogonal view and scroll down here and just see how big the door is going to be. Something like that will do. I can just bring this over to the side and start working on the door. It's gonna be a pretty simple door, but detailed enough to where it looks pretty sci-fi-y. So once you're done modeling and texturing the door, we can just go ahead and move it over to the side, like so, and then place it accordingly. And you can go ahead and make a cutout for the door, which we would do just by clicking here, looking at the door, and selecting what we need to delete. That's good. Let's go ahead and do the same for the bottom right here. Once you're done clearing the wall that you need for the door, we can go ahead and start coloring certain aspects of the door. So if we go in here, so this part right here will be glass. Just make it transparent. And right here, I made it purposely that red because I'm going to give it an emission shader so that the door is closed. And then these orange dots on top also could be given an emission shader. And there's white lights underneath here, and that will be given light to shine off the door. And then this is going to be metal. Same with this. Everything else now on the door is going to be metal. So I'm just going to select the ones that I believe is metal and make that metal. And there we go. We have a few doors set in place. So an easy way to add text that looks nice in Magicavoxel is to basically open up GIMP. I'll give it a second to load here. Expand it like that, and then just have your cursor away and have this on a plain white background. Open up the snipping tool and just snip that. Save it to your desktop. And I'm going to go to my desktop, bring this into Magicavoxel, Now you can see it transferred my text. Now you can just go in here and select the black text and hit Control I to select everything but the black. So once you delete it and color, now you can color this into whatever you like that. And this basically gets the job done. We can probably do a better job, but at the moment this is good for now. So we can go ahead and create two objects, one for the industries part and the other for the first part. So and just like that, we create some text and some I just added some of this like stripped paint here, decoration I guess, and we got some detail for the walls to make it look better. Another thing we can add is some of these little white things on top. I'll show you what I mean. Basically just little things like this, which you can add to give it some color on top. Something like that will do. Now if we look, now there's a little bit more color on top. I think I want to give this an emission, so replace it with that one, which has an emission. Now look a little bit cooler on the top. Now let's work on creating the roof and the crane. Okay, so for the hook or crane thing, I'm actually going to use this little slit as like the slider. So if you can imagine the hook moving along this axis as well as this axis, and they're like mini wheels that help the basically beams move, and then the beams coming off of these are adjustable. Let's go ahead and start doing that. Start with the first beam. Actually, let's go ahead and work on our hook. I'm actually gonna make it easier on myself and pretend that this is the z-axis, so I can just do something like this. So right now I just duplicated the hook I made into 4s, and I'm actually gonna take one of these tubes up. I just gotta decide which tube I want to take. I guess I can take this one, bring it up, and now we can align these 4 hook things where that tube is. Ooh, it's kind of hard to see. So, okay, so it's this one. So we can align it like so. Like that. Select all of them again, bring it down. So it's grabbing, I guess, the center right here. Like that. I'm going to press U for union. So now we have something like this. I can go ahead and create a circle. Like that. And now it looks like the hook is grabbing something. like so. Now if we take a look, that looks pretty cool. Obviously this hook needs convergence point. We can bring the hook up like so, and I guess just bring it together. And actually what we could do is just select this, bring it up, and possibly flip it like that. So now that we have something like that, we can give this like a metallic shader, make it look cool and futuristic, and maybe give it an orange trim, probably along the hooks. Now that we have something like this, we can go ahead and maybe create some top lighting coming down. So we just create a new object, bring it to the top, make it big, down here, go back to here, and we want to give that light an emission shader, and just play around with the vignette settings and any of the exposure settings to your liking, and you can obviously change the color to whatever you want. I think that looks pretty cool, and I want maybe some lighting coming from this direction. I'm just going to repeat this. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. I want to give this bottom part, this ground right here, some texture by making it metallic. Now it looks like in my opinion, it makes it look a little bit more appealing. I wouldn't go too crazy, because if you make it too metallic and the IOR is too high, it looks like water. I'm just going to go ahead and experiment with the HDRs here and see which one looks the best. I think this one looks the best, so I want to stick with this one. If you don't care about HDRIs, you can just mess with here. Okay, with after messing with some of the light settings and getting the depth of field working, let's go ahead and add some more texture for the walls. I'm just going to put these on a separate layer and hide it. Okay, now we can just duplicate this and delete its contents by going to the object view, and then add like a peg like around here, like so, and let's just keep duplicating this peg all across the wall. Okay, now that we create some texture for the wall, let's add those pipes that lead to the central pipe. Let's change the floor pattern here. So we can go over here, floor, and change it to a nicer color. Something like this. Go to the floor, select the floor and color it. And now we can go over to our, we can just randomize it, see how that looks. And make it metal. That looks good. Now let's go ahead and add some props up here, maybe some crates and some storage bins. Now for the crates, I'm just going to create some simple objects because most of my focus will be on this fuel rod, so we don't want to worry too much about detail over here. Just basic form should be enough. So we can create a new object here and just start creating some basic crates. Now we can go ahead and add a control panel that will theoretically control the crane. So here we have the completed scene. Shortly after the time lapse, I just added some of the wall lights you see on the top and let it render. But basically that is all there is to it to create a cool looking sci-fi scene in Magicavoxel. I hope this tutorial has helped. Like always, leave your questions in the comments below. and I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you.